Point at me. Okay. All right, everybody, we have done it. This is the very first day of DevelopEd, so congratulations. It was a big push today, and you should be really proud of yourselves. I know there's some awesome work and stuff like that done. So I can't wait to see some of these demos. I know you've probably all heard a lot from me today, so I'm going to keep this quick. I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. Thank you to all our sponsors, to Dotdash, to Quote to Me, Startup Edmonton, AltML, ScopeAR, everyone else that was involved, all the volunteers and everyone that really stepped up to make this happen. And just the Edmonton developer community, all the great meetups and events that everyone does really does make a difference. And we shall be very proud of everything we do. So thank you. Thank you for all the work you guys do. And with that, I am going to stop talking, and we are going to jump into the first demo for fundraising.
Hello, I'm Jolene, and I worked with this lovely line of people I seem to have dragged out of their chairs today on fundraising. So I'm just going to go over some brief things that we came up with, things we learned. We started with figuring out why we actually need fundraising, so that we had a goal for all of this. We're not going to buy a boat like the cat suggests, unless we have a need for a boat eventually. Start thinking about it now. But mostly just some sort of funds that we could use to spark community projects. We could help meetups or more events like this with space and food, just general budget things, day-to-day Dev Edmonton costs, like accountant's website, a paid Slack where messages don't disappear, and other wonderful things like that. And then we had a great time brainstorming, how do we fundraise? So you can see the list up there. Came from everything like charging for services, making vendor lists, applying for grants. Maybe we post jobs for people and they pay us per job posting. And then the ones that we can't forget about, which is how we got today's sponsor, just asking people for their, very generous sponsorships, or asking for time, Maybe we've never organized an event and someone else has, and we're like, hey, how did you do this? What did you learn? What can make this go more efficiently? So then after that, we took a vote in our very small group of 5 to 6 fluctuating humans throughout the day. And we decided that having a merchandise store Patreon combo was one of the lowest effort, possibly highest return things we could do. And as this very lovely cat will tell you, it's a great idea. So then we came up with a list of things we needed to do to make that happen. So what needs to happen for us to have merchandise and a Patreon? And came up with things like, we need to have merchandise for starters. So approve logos, t-shirts, stickers, stuff like that. We need to make a Patreon and define tiers. We thought it'd be cool if you could sign up as a person. So I could support us for $5 a month, or a whole company could sign up and be like, we'll give you more money a month if we get more perks. And then, we need to tell people about it, get people to sign up, and potentially make another organization that would manage the Patreon. We don't really know. These are questions that need to be answered. And then next up, one of our more popular ones we decided in our group was to host fundraising events. So what do we need to make that happen? Probably an events committee. We need to know what kind of events we want, what kind of events people are interested in. We need someone to spearhead every event. And then we had a million different event ideas, and it was spiraling into madness and wonderful times. So this slide is just the overall, how do you host events in general? And then a network of volunteer consultants. This one was more interesting. So we were thinking of events like, say, the Fringe, for example. It's currently happening. They have a website. Someone built it. Maybe they hired a contractor for it. But they didn't really know what they were looking for in a contractor. We figure here at Dev Edmonton, we have a resource of people that will know, hey, if you want a junior developer, make sure they do this and don't do this. Or if you want it in WordPress, make sure you find someone who can do this. So we wouldn't build it. We would just find people who can tell you, yeah, the person you're looking for is right. Or maybe look for something else like this, and we could charge for it. It was a big project that we realized overlapped with other mentorship things. So we brainstormed this and then took a break for lunch. So overall today, we did a lot of brainstorming. We made tiers for our Patreon subscription, and we maybe became a fundraising committee. I don't know. I'm a little unclear on that. And then our goals for the future. So we have all those ideas we wrote down in a lovely Google Doc that I can open up in a second. And we want to establish clear goals for the fund. Like, what are we doing with this money? What do we tell people when they give us money? We need to have a clear answer for that, not we're going to buy a boat. And we should probably make an official fundraising committee, so hopefully that can shape up sometime soon. And then actually, raise a fund. Just one would be nice, somewhere to start. But yeah, thanks for your time.
Do we want to do questions, or do we want to?
Yeah.
Sure. I know. I would like to know maybe. So let's assume we're gonna set up a fundraising committee. How would we do that? Do we have a good sense, or like what would be the first step in doing that?
I think we'd have to gauge community interest and find people that want to be on that committee and find roles. Is there a head? Is everyone equal?
Communicating it out to like beyond just who's here today. Does anyone want to be involved? That kind of thing.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Next steps. Any other questions from the crowd?
Can I just say this is great work too? This is really great. This is the kind of stuff that we want to
Awesome.
be doing. So good job.
Well, it's a huge team effort.
Gifts, you mean, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, we're ready? Okay. So we are creating an organization called YEGWIT. There's a little mascot, which Caroline put together today. Women in Tech, with our mission or our tagline, foster, validate, and empower. So this is our aim. Build a strong society for women in technology, fostering engagement, providing mentorship, educating, and inspiring those to continue careers in the industry. YEGWIT will establish a community of individuals who can share ideas, concerns, or anxieties in a non-judgmental space. And so who is this for? Women in tech. Broad, not just coders.
Also allies.
Yep. And so we're planning to do a kickoff event. We're going to do this in September and just have like a brunch and conversation. We've got to figure some stuff out. But this is our plan to start off everything. And then we're going to have some ongoing, we haven't fully thought through other ideas, but this was one that we talked about, coffee and code, just something casual where we have a community and a safe space where we can like encourage one another and learn from one another. With our big goal, which we had started off at the beginning, was to have a YEGWIT conference, which we're hoping to do late March 2020. So thinking of something like this where we have a Friday social and then a Saturday conference, and we need to flesh this out more. Here's our little website. Awesome Adventure, confidently secure. I don't know what that means. And we're looking March, not July. So we will put together a website. So what are our next steps? So these are some of the things that we need to do next. We need a designer to help us finish off our logo. We've got our little YEGWIT mascot, but we need to finish that off. So if anybody knows of a designer, if you are a designer and want to help us out. And then we're going to finish planning our first event for our brunch and conversation for women in tech. And then we need to start gathering a committee with members and volunteers for the spring 2020 conference. So that's whoever wants to help out. And you wanted to do this? Oh, right.
The last slide was more just like, I just wanted to like thank everyone because like this was the coolest day ever. There were so many things about like volunteering for this or other Dev Edmonton Society things. Like it was so cool because like randomly at our table, we just had like this giant discussion between like 7 people about our personal mental health and like how that affects everyone at work. And even just like people randomly letting us steal their iPad. Like everyone is just so nice and wonderful. And I laughed until I cried like 5 different times today. So I just wanted to say thank you as well.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go. So yes, we'll be reaching out for volunteers and people to help out.
It's fun, just like all the things we listed.
All right. So what do I do?
Any questions? Yes?
Oh, right, questions.
Or how? How do we do that? What is that?
We
Well-
were thinking of trying to meet sometime in the next either 2 weeks or a month. Someone said that we should just do like another DevelopEd in a month, like less food and less organization on Mark, but you know, so something like that. First, I think we're mostly just gonna post in the Dev Edmonton
Yeah.
Slack channels and be like, who is interested and when is your availability
Yeah.
to meet?
So this slide talks about the sort of idea of this DevTalk events that we want to do, which are a series of events that focus on bringing together developers to talk about tech things and non-tech things that are sort of tangentially tech related, and really to have a series of events that's not specific to a technology or a methodology or whatever, but is has really broad appeal across the dev community. And so we talked today about sort of how we want to run this series, and also through some examples of the kinds of talks that we might want to have at this series. I categorized our ideas for talks into sort of two different categories, some sort of more technical and some less technical. So more technical ones would be things like software architecture, development process, security, really sort of broad tech topics. And also like anything that comes out of a specific meetup that might be more broadly applicable, have a broader appeal than just the specific meetup where it was originally presented. On the less technical side, things like mental health and self-care, how to take care of yourself in this industry, leadership, career development or career pathing, having people who have progressed in their careers to some point, sort of talk about how they got there and the path they took, give people an idea of where you can go. Diversity, maybe a hiring practices panel where we talk about how we hire people, give people an idea of what to expect in interviews, that kind of thing. One of the goals for this would be, this series would be to get a diverse group of people out to the talks, diverse in terms of what they work on, and also diverse in terms of all the usual diversity things, gender and race, et cetera. So to that end, one of the things we want to do is vary the format of it, have some that are more discussion-oriented, some that are more presentation-oriented, so that you sort of appeal to different people and are appropriate to what the topic is, not being married to one format. Also varying the times and places that we do these things. So some people find it hard to make it out on a weekend, some people find it hard to make it out in an evening. So doing some that maybe are midday, some that are on a weekend, some that are in the evening, just so you get different groups of people out, and also importantly for that, giving people lots of notice before they happen, so that most people can try and book the time off or arrange childcare or whatever they need to do. We also want to make sure that we have different venues as well, so different parts of the city, and this is a good way to get companies involved as well. Companies that are located in different places maybe have space to host this event, and can sort of advertise it to their employees, maybe have employees from different companies give talks. That's a nice way to sort of increase the audience and get a different group of people out to these things. So the sort of things that we already have are obviously some ideas. I understand Asha has already registered a domain name and has an Eventbrite account and everything set up for this, so that's all cool. The next steps are sort of to set up some way to sort of track our work on this and coordinate, and start writing up a summary and get some interest, start arranging some initial talks. The goal is kind of to have a first event in October, and maybe we don't want to stick to an exact schedule, obviously, in terms of wanting to vary when and where these things happen, but maybe try and do one event a quarter. And maybe try and, when we have one of these talks, be ready to tell people when the next one is at that event, so that people can sort of plan ahead and get an idea of what they want to come to next. Anything I missed?
Nope, that's all.
All right. Thanks a lot. That's the plan.
All right. So Courtney here again from the Rehab Robotics Lab at the University of Alberta. Today we had a really productive conversation with a great group of really engaged and passionate individuals about mentorship. Some of the topics that we covered is, what is mentorship? what type of programming already exists in the community, what are we trying to do differently. We talked at length about what are some of the challenges that students face, and we talked a lot about what does industry need. And so this really took up most of the morning, where we were just really trying to narrow down, what the problem was and how we could really solve it. And then from that, it was really productive because we were able to take all that kind of information that we had discussed and then really start to map out a structure of what this mentorship program could look like. And so through the Rehab Robotics Lab, we're going to continue down in developing the mentorship program for our needs in creating opportunities for 2 app developers to go through a 6-month internship mentorship program, and then with the hopes that this will lead to ongoing employment for these students. So we're going to continue working on the program development of shaping this mentorship and soft skill development program. We're going to hire 2 students. They're going to be with us from September until April, and they're going to go through this program. And this is going to serve as our proof of concept. So while this first proof of concept is happening, we're going to go through ongoing community engagement and consultation with students and industry and community members. And then we're going to really work on our branding and marketing. So we're really sure about who we are, who we're serving, and what we're trying to accomplish with it. And then in the future, so after April, we're going to be able to bring back those lessons learned and share with this DevelopEd community about what worked and what the DevelopEd community might consider doing for their own mentorship program if that's the path that they choose, or other opportunities for us to continue to collaborate. So what do I need? What we need is help promoting these 2 initial job postings through the channels that DevelopEd or other developers currently use to advertise to new grads or junior developers that would be interested in this opportunity. And we're specifically looking for developers that work with iOS and Android app development. So I'll share that with the Slack channel, and hopefully we can get the word out and get some really keen students interested and involved in this and see where it takes us from there.
Thank you. And first of all, I would say in the morning, I was so excited, so overwhelmed by this lots of wonderful ideas. But I found out I need to stick to my plan. So as I mentioned, this summer, my son and I are working so busy on our open source project. We rewrite the Bootstrap with Elm language using Elm-UI. So basically, it provides some tools to let people build beautiful websites with this new functional language, delightful language to build website. So I started to build this with, I want to add a new thing to this called material thing. It looks like a material design by using Bootstrap and like a concept and using Elm to build that. So I started in the morning, I found out it's too much details. I need to figure out how the font works, how the shadows, size, paddings. So I was afraid I couldn't finish that today. So I called my son, and he did come. So we worked together. You can see the GitHub commit. So he did lots of work. I just merged his PRs. Then he also updated his demo website. This is his work. And if you look at this change, we did a very minimal change in this demo code. We just add a menu item to change the theme. All the work is in the framework. So here is the demo site, hello world. Before, we have default basic Bootstrap theme like that. And we also have dark theme. It's dark. We built that before. Today, we build another theme called material. It looks like a material design, but it's all built by this Elm program and with similar Bootstrap CSS, but we follow the Bootstrap CSS. So we did that, finished it today. It's a wonderful job, and I was so happy with that. So I hope we can continue work on this Elm-UI Bootstrap project and get ready. I'm also built on a very fully end-to-end enterprise level applications with all those basic like user login, password setup, and forget password, everything that's basic for a good website, then people can use that to build different ideas. Whatever idea you have, you can use that to build. So I'm very happy that today we made it. Thank you.
So what we were working on today was making green onion cakes, but we're not very good at cooking, so we decided to write some code instead. So there's been this idea of having something in Slack where people can like recognize other people. It's kind of like gentle nudges, like a call out. So there's been different versions of this. One of the better known ones is something called Hey Taco, which is a paid one. Another one that we looked at is KarmaBot, so that's what this one's at. And basically just a thing that plugs into Slack and then lets people like just like call someone else out for doing something good. So we kind of looked at two main options. So we looked at using KarmaBot. KarmaBot does actually have somewhere on here a free plan that looks like it would work for kind of what our needs need to be, or the other option of doing something more of our own. So right now we're going to demo both, I guess. The one that we've built is built on a project called Hey Burrito that we did some modifications for to make it more applicable to our use cases. KarmaBot is, of course, just off the shelf. So I'll demo them and then I'll talk about it a little bit. So this is just a test channel. So this is in our actual Slack. So this is kind of production-ish. Oh no, you can see things. I tried really hard to push everything off the screen. But like if I want to just like give Asha just like props for working out, I'd go in here and I'd give her some green onions. And then assuming that my stuff isn't broken. Oh. Yeah, so like unfortunately, like I don't know what happened here, but just the auth is failing for some reason. Which is just working like, anyways, don't know what the story is there, but this is what it'll look like. So you just like, you can ping someone and we can set what emoji we want, but we're gonna use green onion cakes to Edmontize it. And then in the channel, you'll get a shout out like this. So awesome, someone just got some green onion cake, gratitude and love. And then this might work still. Yeah, but it's empty. Anyway, so there's those scoreboard that shows kind of like what, how many people have gotten. Anyway, so you can like interact and see like who gave each other votes and who gave you votes and things like that. And there's some idea that we might do something where on like a monthly basis or something, you just kind of like, pull that stuff up and do a shout out, thanks to these great people, or even potentially you could do something like a gift card or something like that. Yeah. But so. You have to do stuff on Slack where you could be like, if you have a great speaker or something like that, read up. Yeah. Yeah, give them a shout out. So anyway, so like unfortunately, yeah, ours is just completely broken. I'll need to look into what happened with that. And then the other one that's in place is KarmaBot. So again, this one is off the shelf, very similar idea. So it just uses a different trigger. So this only I see, and everyone else would get, like, again, very similar. Asha got 2 karma from Ben, and then, if we go here, that'll show up as, being added to her score. So now she's got 10.1 instead of 8, and you can see like what calls have happened recently. So that's another option as well. So they're basically both doing the same thing. We like using ours instead. For one thing, so we can use emojis. KarmaBot oddly has all kinds of options, but the one thing you can't change is what the trigger is. It's just hard-coded to pluses. And then just the fact where when it's our own, we have a lot more flexibility around what we can do, but it also means, of course, we need to actually manage it as well, and things can break, because it just happened. So right now, this actually is running on a production server. Thanks to Adam for getting a DigitalOcean cluster spun up right now. We need to figure out what's going to be happening with the hosting longer term, as well as we've got some other things we need to host. So we've got to work through those conversations. And then we've got a calendar invite so that if we do not get our own hosted version up in 2 weeks, we're going to go live with KarmaBot instead. So our preference is to be running our own, but within 2 weeks, we will either have our own or KarmaBot.
So can anyone use this? Like, is it something, there's not like an approved like Karma list, anyone on Slack?
Anyone on Slack can do it. The only control is just which channel it's in. So you have to invite the bot into a channel or it won't do anything. So yeah.
How do you get decimal scores?
So that's actually, it's a
Built-in thing into KarmaBot where you add and you can configure which emojis can give you a little micro karma. So when you react to a message with that particular emoji, you can get a little 0.1 or 0.1 or
yeah, so now she's 10.2.
10.2.
Yeah, so it's an interesting little thing that KarmaBot does. I'm not super excited about it, but it is a thing.
Are the scores global across all of Slack?
Yes, KarmaBot has a channel, has an option to make them channel specific instead of global, but I don't know if that's better. I don't know if that's better.
That's kind of one of the things. Like I've
Yeah.
seen, I think Hey Taco typically does the direct message and kind of says, "Oh, hey, you've got some tacos," and then KarmaBot kind of shows it on there, and so it's kind of
Yeah, these are fun. I gotta show it. So KarmaBot can do these like inline images, and they just do these random like animated GIFs, and some of them are so fun. Where's my favorite one? This one? But they're like so intrusive that we couldn't really see leaving that on. Yeah, they are pretty fun, but it just doesn't seem to really make sense.
Awesome, thank you.
Yay! I know this is so like, advanced and everything else. Actually, just as a high level, this actually covers a couple of different things I heard from today that I thought could potentially maybe merge together. This is a draft. The way I would encourage you all to think about this is you've seen this for the first time, you need to fill this in. Let me know if you think this is stupid, there's too many questions, too few questions, so on and so forth, right? As a general thing, when I said it's a few different ideas together, so it was the idea that Asha had put up there regarding just a volunteer list, right? And maybe having a spreadsheet to get some of that data. And then I was thinking, Jazz had mentioned about kind of looking at matching skills and having people have conversations with one another. And then I thought about, the third thing was I thought about like Basic YEG or a different meetup. Like we asked people to put in to put in their email addresses for the mailing list, but we don't have much more information than that. And if I wanted to say match a volunteer to do something, we don't have that either. So maybe there's something that could be done with all three. So this is a very complex form. It asks 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. And this one's a little bit of a misnomer here and I want to bring this up because while trying to put this together, I did actually notice a couple things, so I welcome anyone to kind of tell me how to do this better outside of building an app to do so, which you can, but I'm kind of hoping a form should be able to take care of this. Anyways, the idea I had was like, if you just check these things off, the next sections or the next pages will expand and ask you more detailed questions. Turns out Google Form does let you do that, but only with radio buttons, which kind of sucks. So it's like, it's there, but there's no way if you clicked on this one, on the next page, this section will appear. And again, you could code it out, but this shouldn't be something that you need to code, right? I don't want to be inventing the wheel. I'm sure someone knows how, sorry, go ahead.
Could you do 5 different questions with radio buttons with yes or no?
I know, but then the whole thing looks so long. I know exactly what you mean. I'm just like, doesn't feel right. So now, then the idea is like, so cross between the volunteer list, being able to know what skills people have, as well as a skills list, then you'd ask people some questions about or let people fill in basically what skills they have. And ideally, you'd actually have kind of a list of skills already there, maybe just to get people to get started off with. But this is the second problem with Google Forms. It doesn't let you actually add additional rows. So again, if someone knows like a quick form thing that would deal with this, that'd be ideal. But if you were to sign up for an email list, you get this form, and you fill this out. If you said that you were interested in or helping to organize, there may be other bullet points here that you could ask. If you said you wanted to be mentored or you want to mentor, what are the types of talks you want to give, some general information about you. So that's this form. And then this last one, just talking to Asha about this, just a little bit more of a deep dive to figure out what people's kind of like general drives are. And so anything that looks bad here, you can blame it on me. This isn't really like, I was just trying to get a sense of what that might look like to try and get an idea of what drives people. And I think that was closer to Asha's vision. And then the capacity in which they can contribute. So it's a form, there's 3 form slides, but I don't know how to make this work within a better form, which would be nice. And then, yeah, any general feedback would be useful. That's it. Sure, Slack's great. Email's good as well. Actually, I prefer email greatly. My Slack's there's too much Slack for me. But it's just Eugene at dha.io. Just look for me. Sounds good. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. So my slides are on, and I guess my idea that I really wanted to explore as part of DevelopEd this year is event recording. So our mission statement is a one-sentence thing that I believe resonates with a lot of different communities and community members. How might we empower each community and its members to record their events? It sounds pretty simple, but as you can tell, I've even got some things wrong here today. I've learned not to use the USB extension cord for very important things like video. So as a team, we've started to try and define kind of 3 pillars. And so what we found are sort of where are people unsure about things? So the question is, can anyone in the audience now take what we have here and set it up? Most of the time, the answer is no, and a lot of times it's about what they're unsure about. And so we feel that hardware is one of those difficult things to understand. Content strategy, so even after you've created the videos, discoverability, how are people actually going to find what we create? And then on top of that, there's also content creation. So some people start thinking about what's useful, what are people actually viewing, what's actually catching the eye of the community at large. And last but not least, and the one that we actually were spending most of our time after lunch doing is thinking about the people. So what do people want to learn about event recording? So where do they even begin? Where do they even start? And then the final thing is mentorship. So there's more people than just myself, Mark, Sean, and Jarrett. We've sort of seen ourselves as sort of the first kind of group of people who have this knowledge about knowing how to set these things up. And it's about how do we actually get people pass on this knowledge in a way that doesn't need myself or Mark or whoever to always be there. So we started to kind of create sticky notes and define user stories. And some of the things that came out of the hardware is fundraising. So what sort of hardware and software are people enjoying? Like Jazz here has had experience doing like audio video stuff. So I really want to pick the brains of the people in the community who have done things with the hardware so that as a Dev Edmonton Society, we can sort of pool our fundraising efforts to obtain this hardware and this software. And also as a member, I feel like kind of dialing back to my experience, I want to be able to borrow a basic recording setup. So even right here at Startup Edmonton, we have kind of an event recording equipment in a bag, we just don't have the process of having a library sign-up mechanism just yet. So we're going to need to start from the very beginning and see how we formalize these things so that we don't lose anything, we don't get anything stolen, but at the same time, we also allow for other meetups that don't necessarily happen here at Startup Edmonton to record their content. On to the second pillar of content strategy. So under that, I kind of saw two epics, so discoverability and content creation. Under the discoverability, every meetup group wants to be able to easily promote their content. They also want to be able to take their content as a presenter and possibly use it as a portfolio piece. So when it comes to interviews and actually getting themselves out there, a lot of times there's very good content in these videos. These presenters have, done very deep dives on very niche topics and whatnot. And being able to allow them to use that content as a portfolio piece is important to some of our members. And members also want to be able to take the content and make it easy to target their audience. So Jarrett was thinking about, wouldn't it be great for Dev Edmonton Society to use the YouTube API even to create a JSON dump of the videos that are on there so that you can start exporting them to an RSS feed or an email newsletter. So a lot of really great ideas were coming out of our morning discussions. Onto the content creation side, when it just comes to, Jarrett was saying how in his experience, he's been doing a lot of recording just himself in front of his laptop with the webcam and the mic. He'd love to be able to learn from other community members how to record demos, just write like a screencast essentially. So right now, a lot of us have a laptop at home. It would be great if Dev Edmonton Society was able to create a handbook, let's say, to kind of show the best practices. How do you actually get started with OBS and screencasting? Then the next step is then to be able to have a place to learn what I should present at a meetup. So a lot of times there's a lot to talk about with any sort of content, but you want to try and distill it down to little bits and pieces that the audience can stay engaged in. And then the last but not least, it's about being able to, we want to be able to not just have this one person who's responsible for recording it and editing it and all that. It would be really great to, as a member, be able to coordinate the video authoring process with other members in the community. And then the final part that we felt we could really hit the ground running is the people. So out of these sticky notes, there was a lot of different things. I don't want to go over all of them, but under the learning section, it really starts from just figuring out even having the event recording checklist. Do you have all the hardware wired up? Do you have the mics and everything set up? Is there a handbook for me to kind of go through? Is there a troubleshooting guide when things go wrong, like me using an extension cord when I shouldn't be doing so? Just a lot of these little things that I think if we can create instruction manuals, I think it really helps along the way. Of course, we can't always just have a wiki page and just say, go refer to the internet, it will solve your problems. There's also the other side of mentorship. So are there people who members can talk to when they have questions? Are there people that they can ask, like myself, to take some time out of my day to go to the meetups and show them how to set up their equipment? And also, Jarrett raised a really good point, is a lot of these meetups, sometimes there's hardware, there's software. They're going to have some niche requests, so they would love to be able to have someone else also be like, hey, have you ever had to hook up multiple computers? How do you do that? So having the people for that is important to our members, and it's because it's out of just the journey that Sean, Jarrett, and myself have gone through. We see these as things that other people would also be really concerned with and want to know about. So what are sort of the immediate next steps? I'm going to try and digitize the backlog that you can't really read off the screen. I'm going to try and do that so that we're reminding ourselves that this doesn't just end today. It's an ongoing thing. Jarrett is exploring event recording for his Edmonton Bitcoin Association. Right now, it's very grassroots. Again, it just seems like we're trying to solve the same problems within our own silos. So it's about, we want to see where Jarrett goes in his journey in recording the Edmonton Bitcoin meetups and seeing what we can sort of provide him in terms of advice. Sean himself is gauging interest from a couple other meetup groups. So already he's sort of committed to going next Wednesday to the Edmonton Bitcoin meetup and just seeing how Jarrett's been able to set things up. And then kind of see where did Jarrett succeed and where did he stumble and where can we pool our knowledge together and improve the content creation. So really our short-term goal is to start creating more event recording experts because right now it's kind of 2-3 people. Once we kind of get a larger community of people who are there, then there's people who other members can turn to, and we can start actually creating that committee of people who can put all these things into a wiki, a handbook, whatever is a solution coming up in the future. It's hard to really guess, but it really starts with the people. Yeah, any questions? Otherwise, thank you for your time. Yeah, that's a really good question. So the question, because we don't have crowd mics, it's coming soon, TM, is are we going to incorporate other people in the community? And my answer to that is, of course. One of the pictures that I did not put in my slides is the pitch that I was making. And in there are multiple members of our community, developers, event planners, organizers. I can't even remember all of them. I just checked all the boxes because really, this isn't a developer-focused problem. This is a problem just in our community at large that I think as a community we can solve together. And I really want to hear perspectives from everyone, not just the developers who can help me automate a lot of the things I'm doing manually, but also the presenters. What makes it feel awkward right now? Like the mic handoffs, as an audience even, like what would you like to see? And even people who can't make it to the meetups. I really want to hear from everyone in the community because it really is a community effort. So yeah, that was a good question. Thank you.
I think you guys did great work today. It looks like you guys really thought through a lot of stuff.
Again, it's not one person. I do want to kind of say a special thanks to, Mark as well, just getting me set up real quick. Jazz for kind of his input on audio video stuff, as well as, I forget the person's name, but Ladies Learning Code. I'm staring at I think I'm staring at the individuals right now. My promise is that we're going to get better at this so that by March 2020, event recording is not this like awkward, hey, is it possible? It's more of, hey, I know Dev Edmonton can do this. Can you help us? And I really want to commit to saying yes by then. So that's kind of our goal. Thanks again.